Well, welcome back, and I can tell you the blue touch paper has really been lit now. The leading group on the foot slopes of the long climb, and there it is, the start. They've got an advantage of 3:25, and this mountain, Black Mountain, is about 7 kilometres long.
It is. It's fairly easy the first kilometre or two, and then you get onto the steeper slopes. You've got a couple of nice hairpin bends, and I think when they've gone around the first hairpin bend, it does turn into a headwind, but then later on in the climb they may well have a sort of tail crosswind, so that could prove really decisive.
Meyer on the front here at the moment, Richardson just to his left, but of course the conditions, they are appalling, aren't they?
They are, and the wind is howling, and there's nobody's going to have an easy day today.
Certainly not. Sky still doing the driving on the front, so I think they're still content with the composition of that group.
They must be, and also they must feel fairly confident in Greg Henderson's ability to get over this climb.
So no change in the leading group. But that lead at 3:25 is a nice, useful working cushion, and you can see already it's beginning to ramp up as the riders are forced to come out of the saddle and dance on the pedals. And it's like this all the way, isn't it? It keeps going, it forces you to get out of the saddle, and then you settle back into your rhythm.
Yes, it's a fairly even gradient. Once you get onto the steeper part of the climb, it is fairly even all the way to the top. It's a pity we're not going to see it in all its glory with the sun shining, and it is almost like a mini Pyrenean climb.
Fantastic, wonderful scenery, but as you say, the weather very, very dreary indeed, but it hasn't dampened the spirits of the Tour of Britain, and they are really giving us a fantastic race today. Still Team Sky then on the front of the main field, and they are of course looking after the interests of the overall race leader, Greg Henderson. Evan Oliphant on the front of the leading group here. He'll be away to the Commonwealth Games in New Delhi to represent Scotland, and he's competed in those games before. But 14 seconds, it's a scant advantage, and that's been nibbled away a little bit by seconds gain on the first sprint by Albacini and Hausler. Is that really worth defending, Graham?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's still, they've got to get over these next 2 or 3 days, but the final 3 stages are certainly easily defendable, and you've got to give it a try. 14 seconds. I mean, they put all the effort in to try and get him to win the stage yesterday, so they must be thinking that they can defend it.
But they did expend a lot of energy on yesterday's stage.
They did, and also doing a lot again today, and in these sort of conditions it does take its toll.
Former world champion Bert Grabsch and Marco Pinotti, the Italian, doing a good team job for Colombia. As Cameron Meyer, well, he looks as though he's had enough of his breakaway companions, and Meyer here, he's trying to go clear on his own.
Yeah, he's decided that they're not going fast enough, and he's going to make every effort to try and get away and maybe go for the stage win on his own. It's once he gets over the climb, there is quite a lot of fast descending into the outskirts of Swansea, so he has got a reasonable chance of staying away.
And there's also another advantage really as well, because if you're on your own in the descent, you can pick the safest line, can't you, if you're following a wheel on these kind of conditions?
Yeah, you can, but probably one of the things that will go against him is the fact that it is still very windy.
And it's still quite a long way as well from the top of the climb to the finish, but Meyer finding a nice rhythm, and he's gone clear from that group by about 35 metres as they're starting to eat up the kilometres on Black Mountain. This is the field beginning to thin out a little bit here as they hug the side of the road, trying to keep out of the wind. And you see his nice, easy, relaxed style. 11 minutes and 9 seconds. He actually trails the yellow jersey after the 2 stages. So he's certainly no threat to Henderson. In fact, that's another nice move. It's in favour of Sky, isn't it?
It is, and they've no reason to chase this group down at all, really. They're no threat whatsoever.
The 2 danger men they've got to keep an eye on, of course, are Martin and Albacini. Martin's not high up on the GC, but he's just staying close to his team leader, and if he can get him to the top of this climb with him not extending too much energy, then of course he could be a man that could figure on the descent and try and build a lead as they go towards Swansea.
He's certainly keeping a good rhythm there, looking very comfortable. He's actually looking back down the mountain to see where the chasers are, and we've actually just got one chaser there about 100 metres behind him.
So there is the remnants of the group that Meyer has left, and it looked like 1 or 2 other riders just in the distance as well as we go back to the main field. Well, the 2 Columbia boys have slipped back a little bit now off the front of the main field, but still a long way to go to the summit. Keeping a nice high speed here. They're making a fist of it, but this is the man that's putting the rest under the sword, and that of course is Cameron Meyer. He really is moving.
I think he's just looking ahead there to see where the top of the climb is, and it's coming up slowly into the mist, and I think the visibility is going to get pretty poor as we get nearer the top.
And of course conditions like this give us no opportunity at all to be able to take any helicopter shots. They wouldn't be able to see down through the mist, but we've got a perfect view here of the action, and that tells us what's happening behind. There's damage here, isn't there, forming, and that's all because of the pressure being applied here, right on the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, it's the pressure applied by Vacances Soleil, and the peloton has split as I expected, and I do expect that this could even split even more.
It's brutal, isn't it? It's a savage climb. It's the length, isn't it, that wears you down. It's a war of attrition almost. The riders, they set that tempo that puts you in the zone where you're uncomfortable. We
can actually also see, there's a good shot there, you could see the gradient. You know, it's not just like a long drag over the moors. This is a proper climb.
A wearing down process, but the man that really is tackling the hill best of the field is Cameron Meyer, this young Aussie with a tremendous future ahead of him. And behind in the main field, these are the chasers, and between this group and of course Meyer are the remnants of the leading group. Now then, the question you've got to ask yourself is, where is Henderson, the yellow jersey?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit confusing there. We've got a yellow cape in that group.
Certainly
we can assure you that that's actually not the yellow jersey.
I think that's one of the ISD riders, and that is very misleading, isn't it? Because when you look at that, you'd immediately think, there's the yellow jersey, the race leader. But I can't see him as I'm looking back through the field here, but I can see the riders from Colombia, and those are the two that we saw early on, and that's Martin and Albacini. So they're obviously riding to a game plan.
Well, I think they may well have seen Greg Henderson in a little bit of difficulty, and they've decided to take the initiative here, and this may be a good opportunity for them to get away.
And on a climb with this length, they can certainly make up some very useful time. Here we are, right at the head of the main field. It's still Tony Martin, and behind him you can see there's some other useful riders. Looks like Wiggins is in this group as well.
It is. Also, it's a rider from Enduro. I'm not sure. It looks like a fairly big lad. It could be Jack Bauer, which would be a hell of a ride if he was to get in this breakaway, having sort of seen him struggling a little bit on the first day.
He kept losing contact on the climbs, didn't he, on the stage to Blackpool, and he was away in that three-man break that dominated the stage.
He did, and this is another category of climb altogether to what we had on the first day.
So he's obviously got the good legs on today, Jack Bauer, as they're coming up to the summit of the climb, and generous support there then for the Aussie Meyer as he crests the top of the hill first. Now then, he's going to set himself up for a fast descent, and I want to see just what's happening behind, because those two riders from Colombia were actually bringing the third group up the mountain that was chasing down the remnants of the break, and behind that is the yellow jersey Henderson. So this is a real sort out, and look at the conditions now.
They've just got worse and worse as we go along. There's a second rider on the road.
That's a lone rider coming over the top for second spot. That's Leckhart from Vacances Soleil. And here are the rest of the break, and they of course are going over the line for third. That's Ian Bibby. Good riding by Bibby there in third spot, and Simon Richardson was fourth, and just behind him was Nering, who was on the top sport team. Now then, Meyer with a bit between his teeth on the descent. Well, still got quite a long way to go, but he's in a good position. Matteo Carrara, the Italian on the Vacances Soleil team, leading this third group on the road, and his teammate just tucked into the wheel, and you can see just behind is Tony Martin and also Richie Porte's on the right.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of Richie Porte over the last couple of days, and this is really a strong looking group, and this is going to take some catching. It may well be a difficult day now for Greg Henderson.
Well, I said yesterday was the defining day of selection, but I tell you what, I think this is more important still.
It is, and you can see the conditions there descending in the fog. It's not a really technical descent, it's fairly straightforward, just a couple of S-bends just near the bottom of the descent.
Mountains over, they're on the descent now. They're pulling the zips up on their jerseys, one or two of these riders, but you can see straight away the brace of riders from Colombia have gone to the head here, and at the front is Tony Martin, and Albacini sitting in second wheel, and they look very much to me as they want to get on with this.
Well, they mean business now. They're putting their heads down. They've obviously had some time checks and know that Greg Henderson is losing time, and they're really going to go for it now.
And this is a great opportunity, isn't it, for the brace of Colombia boys, because Greg Henderson is still climbing to the summit of the mountain.